It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, superheroes, and our moms, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
My name is Mike.
And this week, we've got Galactus cast for Fantastic Four, Mike. Out of nowhere.
Believe it or not, you probably won't know who the guy is, like me.
Believe it or not, Galactus isn't at home. No, wait, that's the that was the superhero show that Costanza did for Seinfeld for his thing. But anyway, well, we're going to talk about this and a couple more, actually, and more than Galactus added to this. Superman's suit has been revealed by James Gunn, Mike, to ill reception or good reception. I don't know. We're going to talk about that later in the show. Darth Jar Jar has been confirmed for Star Wars.
God.
And more. Yeah, I know. This was funny because I wasn't going to put this in here, but when a teaser includes Darth Jar Jar, Mike, I have to lean into that a little bit because it's just so funny.
Yeah,
at the end of the
you
day.
really need that SEO with Darth Jar Jar. That's really going to drive clicks.
Yeah, I mean, here, hold on. I'm going to do it. Darth Jar Jar Binks. I'm going to actually type out his full name. He's going to get the full.
There you go.
Binks in there.
Get that Google juice.
Oh, he's in.
AI can't do this.
Yeah. Okay. And more. We got a good episode for everyone today. But as you mentioned, it's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers listening out there to the show. And
Yeah, mothers or soon to be.
Yep.
I had a panicked moment of I was like, well, my wife is, I guess, in the technical sense of the term, a mother as we enter our third trimester, and I was like, oh, we need to make sure we celebrate on Sunday, but not as much as we would next year when the baby's here. So I'm in a new dynamic, Chris. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to navigate this.
Yeah.
I've only had to deal with one mother in my whole life, and now there's another one living with me.
Right.
So you know what they say, you got to be flexible as you get older. You got to prepare for what life throws at you, and now I have to figure this out.
I'm just worried about your costs of card expenses over time going up, right? Like, all these holidays coming up. You got to either, you're going to have Mother's Day cards, you're going to have, extra birthday cards for your kid and all this other weird stuff. Graduations.
Yeah, I was telling my wife I'm looking forward to the day when our child gains like a bit of sentience and starts to kind of understand what me and my wife likes. So like when we have special holidays that come up like birthdays or Father's Day or Mother's Day, and our kid wants to get us something, I just can't wait to see what they attribute to us.
Yeah.
Like, like Father's Day is going to roll up and I'm going to be like unwrapping like a 12-pack of like Diet Mountain Dew because like, oh, Dad likes this. I'm going to get him this.
This custom labeled Diet Mountain Dew for Dad.
He loves
do
that. I mean, they they do it with M&Ms, right? Can't they do that with cans of Mountain Dew?
Dr. Pepper in Texas at their main factory, they let you make your own flavor of Dr. Pepper using their ingredients down there.
Whoa.
And then you get to create a label for your bottle. Yeah.
I would fly out of my way to try that.
Yeah. I'm excited. One of my wife's friends lives in Texas, and I'm like, how far away from where you live is this? Texas is a small state, right? We can get anywhere in about 30 minutes. And they just looked at me. I'm like, no, I'm joking. I know Texas is a big state. It could be literally any part of Texas, but they do that.
I tell you what,
yeah.
The great part about having visitors come into town, even if it's like a weird specific request, I always love it when people come and visit and there's a specific thing that they want to do, because then you don't have to figure out, how to fill the time. So like if I was in Texas and somebody showed up and like, all I want to do is go to the Dr. Pepper bottling plant, I'll be like, you got it. We're doing it.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very directed statement at me, Mike, right now. Because people may not know.
It wasn't supposed to be,
we're
but
taking a weekend off because I'm going to be visiting Mike.
But it still kind of works, yeah. In about a month, Chris is coming out. We're gonna go to a grand old Disneyland resort, California Adventure as well. Chris will be able to walk in Avengers campus, because you have or haven't been to Avengers Campus in Florida yet. I don't remember.
There's no Avengers Campus in Florida. They don't have the rights to Marvel in Florida.
I thought they were kind of building something. Oh, I'm thinking of Guardians Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
we did
thinking
Cosmic
of.
Rewind, absolutely, but that's part of Epcot. But they've not done anything else Marvel related.
Oh,
down there.
sorry. I was getting confused. I think Paris has Avengers
Yeah.
Campus right now. I can't keep all these parks straight. There's so
Well,
many.
and there's one of the Disney cruise liners is even a Marvel Disney cruise liner, right? So like you can, you
like
can go anywhere.
like half of those boats have like a Ant-Man dining experience, which is just really funny to me.
And I'm excited.
That,
Yeah, like to try the Marvel stuff. You mentioned Ant-Man dining. Like I want to do Hank Pym's cafeteria or what it's called, right? Out there.
Yeah, his test kitchen. There's like
Yeah.
a giant pretzel there. I believe there's like maybe a giant candy bar. I can only remember the giant things. I'm like, is there anything? There's got to be some small stuff there, right?
Well,
maybe they got like mini tacos or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, people. I assume they'll make it larger because Disney. The prices are not cheap. It is not a cheap adventure all around. So like, if you just make it bigger, the dollar amount will seem worth it. If we make it smaller, people aren't going to really associate value with this. But I'm excited for
this is true.
For the Marvel stuff. We do have some stuff we like to do in California. I'm always Mike. Everyone here on the show knows this. We're both foodies. I've not had one of the burger place out there. Golly, I'm slipping.
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. I want to say Five Guys, and I'm like, it's not Five Guys. Don't say that. In-N-Out.
We got that too.
Yeah, well, we got that. In-N-Out. Do you guys have Whataburger out there, or no? Not yet.
No, that's kind of the one. Las Vegas seems to be the apex right now, where
Okay.
you can get like literally every burger.
Yeah.
I kind of mapped it out, and I was like, if somebody wanted to do like the ultimate like burger test showdown, you just got to fly into Vegas and get like half a dozen PAs and send them all off to all the burger restaurants at once, and then have them bring it back to you at the same time.
I think Shake Shack I had out there. I've never had Shake Shack before when we were in San Diego. So I'm excited for the food experiences. The chains even. It doesn't have to be, this is only unique to California. I'm sure there's dozens of restaurants unique to California. But we were also talking before the show. I kind of want to build a lightsaber. I have a lot of ideas. So we're going to be ironing those out the next month now that our flights have been purchased and I get to hang out with Mike for a little bit. But despite us being in person, we will not be recording that weekend because it's fun. I like doing this with you, Mike. But if we're together, we don't need to be recording a show because that's just work at that point. So we'll have a little summer break in June. But let's go ahead and shift some gears into what we've been doing, Mike. I want to tell you the story because you're interested. The game Marvel Rivals, which is essentially an Overwatch clone with Marvel characters, dropped a closed alpha test this week.
I feel so silly because you were bringing this up in the group chat over the last couple days, and my brain had just forgotten what it was. It wasn't until like maybe 4 hours ago did I connect the name with like the concept art that we looked at a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, they're talking about that Marvel game. Oh, okay. I understand why I saw exclamation points the other day now.
Yeah, so absolutely. Marvel Rivals, it's a closed alpha test. A lot of people submitted in. They only gave out a couple thousand codes, like not a lot of codes to get into this because it's closed alpha, not a beta. And very limited characters, but the way you could get more codes is if you follow streamers on Twitch, and they give you codes. And essentially, you know how Twitch streamers work, Mike. You interact with them, you get entered, and they pull names. And for the past couple nights, I've been staying up way past my bedtime, watching like 4 Twitch streams live in my thing at once, like pouncing back and forth between them, trying to understand. I'm watching the game. I want to watch the gameplay. It's not just to win the code. I'm watching people have a lot of fun with these characters, and. About 1 o'clock last night, I was like, all right, 1 o'clock's my last one. I've got 3 people pulling codes here. Failed on one, went to the other, didn't get anything. The third one, someone else got drawn. They weren't in the chat. He redrew again. Boom, my name came up, Mike. So out of everyone who had submitted in to win this in raffle, my name was pulled for a closed alpha test last night, and I was able to download it and play it today for a little bit. And if you're not familiar with Overwatch... I
can't wait to hear your impressions here.
So I've only played 3 matches. I have played the limited roster of characters. I have played as Rocket Raccoon and Hela of my 2 characters so far. Rocket Raccoon is a support character. He has an ability where he can... I guess it's a combined ability, team up ability, where he can hop on Groot's shoulders and you can ride Groot into battle, and Groot's a tank character. So I can heal and shoot people with... my big machine gun. I can do damage to the villain, to the other team, or I can heal people. So I'm a healer, right? Very support based. Was having a lot of fun with him, playing him. We won the first round. Did not do so well the second round, and then I switched over to Hela. Hela is just a pure, like, she's throwing those like big spears that we saw in the movies at people, right, left and right, and getting headshots. And she has a couple powerful, but she's really agile and really kind of powerful. But I couldn't quite get the vibe of her like launching projectiles, because like a regular gun in a game is hit scan, like you point, you shoot, and you hit them, right? And this one, there's like a little bit of a lob on these things. So I wasn't getting it yet, but I was having a lot of fun. There's two different modes. One is it's like a King of the Hill. There's a point. You hold the point for as long as you can. Whoever gets to 100% wins the round. Pretty basic, right? The other one is there's a movable chariot from Asgard with like the horses and the chariot, and you have to your team stands on the chariot and moves the chariot. The other team is stopping you from moving the chariot, so it swaps back and forth, just like if this sounds like Overwatch, it's just like Overwatch. There are two maps. One's Asgard, and then one's a Spider-Man 2099 kind of Tokyo looking thing. So there's some Spider-Man references in there. The environments are destructible, but then they also come back as like part of like the lore. Like Asgard, you destroy this, but Loki has magic built in to repair his kingdom after so long. So like walls could come back after you destroy them. It's been pretty fun watching it. I really want to play Star-Lord next. He's a very quick shooter. Got his jet boots, can move around really fast and do that. I've seen a lot of people play Doctor Strange. He's got a big magic shield. Magneto is another kind of tanky character. There's been a lot of really interesting gameplay mechanics and stuff in that. And one of the interesting characters, Mike, they have difficulties on how you can play them. And the hardest difficulty character so far, 5 stars. The only 5-star character in this alpha test is Spider-Man. And it's because he moves so fast, you have to be able to like whip your character around and be like able to like web and beat people up and then zip away just as quick, because he's not going to take a lot of damage, right? But he can deal some out. So if you guys if no one's watched this yet, Twitch, YouTube, whatever, go check it out, because I'm having a lot of fun. But I'm really #blessed, Mike, to get into the Marvel Rivals closed alpha test.
I will definitely not discount your fun, and I'm sure all of the effort that went in to make this game. But I feel like with all like kind of online competitive Marvel things as of recently, or I guess even DC things, if we are still talking about this game this time next year, I will be impressed. Like I will be like, wow, they really hit a surge. They've grown and they've added more. And I'm not saying it's not a great game, but that I feel like that is the challenge of like having something that people still want to play next year.
The one thing with me is this game's not out again. It's a closed alpha test. It's not fully released. We don't know when it's going to release. So I think that's going to be the big thing. If it's free to play and also hits consoles, currently the alpha test is on PC. They say it's going to come to consoles. I'm pretty sure it will. That'll be huge. They're going to make their money on skins. Some of the skins in this alpha test, you get some points you unlock in the battle pass, which is free. You make it back. It's going to be great. I really liked Overwatch. I played Overwatch for several years before some other games came along. So I think the gameplay loop is there. And I think it would be interesting to see how quickly they can add characters to the roster, right? We played the Marvel Avengers game. And the biggest thing about it is it took them forever to add characters to that, right? Like every time, like, oh, this is just another clone of a reskin of another character kind of thing. So I'm like, well, if they can add more characters to this, and I think this will tap into the South Korean gaming market, because obviously that's where a lot of money is, and the company that makes this, NetEase, is out of South Korea. I think it's going to have a bigger life cycle than we expected, because there's a lot of mobile games I forget about, like Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Contest of Champions, Puzzle Quest. Like those games on phones are just rocking and rolling, and I don't think it's people in America at this point. I really think it's like the South Korean, possibly even Japanese markets playing those mobile games. So I think if you can tap into more than the pulse of America, absolutely to do this. I really think that there's been a leaked roster of characters, but I think if they can bring out more and more and more and make them different, and people are having fun with it, I think that's where it's going to kind of come together as well. But I hope they announce after this test is done, they take some feedback, they get the feedback, make some changes, or do another like a closed beta, and then probably after that do a maybe an open beta, but like really get us to a release date, because my thing in games, Mike, and you might agree, you can announce a trailer, right? Like the Blade trailer we got a couple weeks ago for like when they're in Paris, but like that game's not coming out for 3 years. What do I have to go on? What hype do I have to go on?
Yeah.
And I think, it's like, we're going to talk about why they put the trailers out a little early. Is that?
Yeah, I was gonna say because
yeah.
I told Chris about this a couple weeks ago. I had a chance to chat with somebody who worked at Warner Brothers Games, and I was just asking him what he was working on, what he was rolling over onto, and he kind of told me one thing that I was surprised is the reason we get some of these like teaser trailers or announcements of games so early ahead in the life cycle of like, development is starting, is apparently it's a really good recruitment tool out there in the world of games. You announce these games and you try to steal talent, or maybe there's people kind of floating out there in the world looking for their kind of next gig. And you're like, hey, you want to come and work for Warner Brothers Studios? Like, hey, we're making a Wonder Woman game. Do you want to get in on this? So I always thought that was kind of funny too. Just like, yeah, why are they teasing this so early? Like, I would go crazy. I mean, this kind of already happens now, but a Marvel movie gets announced so many years ahead of time. It's just like, when's this thing going to be out already? But at least with movies and franchises, there's other films leading up to it, right? It's just like Secret Wars might be like so many years away, but at least we have like, 5-6 more movies until then. It's just like, we're announcing this video game and you'll hear nothing from us for years. But I think that's kind of interesting.
And I think this closed alpha test might be in the same vein, to be completely honest, right? Like, hey, we've got this core down. We've got a small group here. Maybe we're 40% done with this game. We need more help. We need to get this done. Maybe the alpha test will also be like, hey, we're proving we're doing it. Maybe they're looking to hire some people internally as well. So, a lot more angles on this stuff than we would normally think of as regular in consumers. But Mike, what have you been up to this weekend? I could talk Marvel Rivals all day, and I've only played literally like 3 hours of it this morning. So, but I've watched more than that. But what have you been up to?
Well, one thing that you could do while you're playing video games, especially like an online game, is listen to music. And there's this new band I've been listening to. And normally I wouldn't like plug music on the show, but there's this group out there called the Wolves of Glendale, and they're this hilarious comedy band. And they've recently put out an album, and I knew about them because they would do like these like fun like little songs or skits and put them up on TikTok. Yeah. So I finally decided, I should go find them on Spotify and actually listen to a full song of theirs, because I've only kind of like seen these like little gags that they've done on social. And this album, I believe it's just self-titled, Wolves of Glendale, it's just absolutely hilarious. Like, not only is like the musicality just like really, really good, like it's solid music. Like there's kind of like there's different kind of like vibes for each song. Like they're not just like parodying like styles, but they're also parodying stories in it as well. But there's like some great like 80s influence at the beginning. There's like a song at the end of the album that sounds like exactly like a Daft Punk song, but it's not like Weird Al, who will parody things that already exist, as they're just making up these songs off the top of their head. And they're just great. It's wonderful. There's the first song of the album is called "Vapin' in Vegas," all about a murderer that's like escaped from prison and he's like living in Vegas. And there's like another one where like your roommate's a ghost and then you start dating, and then like your mom's really confused why you're dating a ghost. So they go all over the spectrum. There's like a metal song where the only lyric in the entire song is just the word shrimp. So they're all over the place, but it's like it's so addicting. Like I don't know why like comedic songs like just really earworm into my brain. It's very similar to like Bo Burnham's last album, Inside. If you're a fan of like Bo Burnham's Inside, this is kind of definitely wackier than that for sure. But yeah, go check out Wolves of Glendale.
Well, I would say this is maybe more like Bo Burnham's first albums, right? When he was kind of like, here's a song I call "World on Fire," and then he just screams, right? I've seen these guys several times. They remind me like of a modern Acts of Awesome. Remember when they did like the 4-chord song back 15 years ago? Like these guys are very musically talented, right? They got a drummer, keyboardist, guitarist, and you can tell they're having fun, and they do it with such seriousness. And I think that sells it to me, right? Whenever they're like, we believe that this is funny, and it's a nod and wink at the audience, but like it's not like, hey, like they don't have to like nudge you with their elbows to say it's funny. Like, it is just naturally funny at the end of the day.
Looks like they're on tour right now. They're going to be in Lollapalooza in August. Then they're going over the pond into the United Kingdom and Ireland. So if you're listening on the other side of the globe, check them out. Yeah, they're great. Yeah. They were unfortunately, this shows my age. We had a friend reach out to us like, oh, do you want to go see these guys live? And I looked, I was like, a Wednesday night starting at 9:30. Oh, I was like, I am sorry, that is too late for me on a Wednesday.
I'm jealous. But... I wish I would have been there. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Calling off Thursday right now, but no, that's cool. I'm not a TikToker, but I do see them on Reels much later, like everybody else.
Yeah, go take your moms to go see the Wolves of Glendale. They'll love it.
Yeah, send them a reel. Like, I saw this and thought of you. I did get my mom a card that said, good moms let their kids lick the blender, the mixer, when they're done.
Oh, wait, are you Chris? I literally got my mom the same card. I was just about to say I forgot the one that I mailed my mom, but then you started describing it. And I was like, no, I sent the same one. I wonder if it's the literal same card, because like the concept of the card, is, I would say, is something familiar. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's any other like versions of the card. But was it blue? I feel like the outside of my card was blue. Mine
was red, and it was a double fold, so it kind of accordioned a little bit.
Okay, mine wasn't accordion. I think it was a single kind of standard card, but it was the same thought. And then I think I custom wrote something in there about like, oh, I wonder how much raw cookie dough you let me eat or something. like that.
And then on the inside it says good
same
moms,
page.
Good moms turn them off first. That was the punchline. So absolutely. I feel we haven't done this show for 10 years, Mike, without at least having a little bit of familiarity growing up. So
also we should let the listeners know that we're both simultaneously drinking Mountain Dew Zero Sugar.
That's
Purple Thunder. It's delicious. My wife is not even a huge Mountain Dew person, but she kind of leans towards grape flavored things, and I don't think this is necessarily grape flavored because it says berry plum. But I mean, it's purple.
It's purple. It's gotta be grape.
These artificial, these artificial fruit flavors. It's not like they're ever accurate to what you're actually eating, but there's grape adjacent vibes to this. So like it.
So the Purple Thunder has been out in Circle K exclusive for a year, maybe 2 years now. They've opened it up to other stores, and they released a zero version. So bonus for us. If I could give a shout out to our other Instagram channel, Superhero Snack. I've been trying to post on there regularly because we are in just a summer of flavor. I do have to tell Mike, yes. I don't like I told him last night it hurt him. I could feel him hurt through my messages. The new Lay's, the Garden Fresca, did not care for those as much as you do. Just it's got that green flavor at the end of it. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's green.
I mean, I guess you can't make. We're past the invention of the potato chip now by so much that any new flavor is not going to please everybody. But I do feel like that salsa fresca flavor is the closest chip I've had in a while that feels like add it to the rotation. Like, oh, this could be a solid flavor that stands the test of time and is with us forever, because it's not doing anything too crazy. Because I think the downside of some of these novelty chips is when you bite into them, you're just thinking of, oh, this is supposed to be something else. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be thinking I'm eating like barbecue chicken pizza or like ribs or something like that, and like I can't enjoy it because I don't feel like I'm eating a potato chip. But like salsa is kind of a chip adjacent thing to begin with.
They've Willy Wonka'd it a bit, right? Like this is a Thanksgiving dinner chip, and you're like, not really. At the end of the day, there's too much going on here. Like the BLT ones I had recently, they were fine. They're not really overly bacon. They're not really overly anything else. They're just kind of like a mid barbecue with a mid Cuban sandwich flavor when they have. I've got like 4 bags of Doritos, 4 flavors of Doritos upstairs. My wife is going nuts that I've not opened them yet. I'm like, I can't just open all these chips, man. I got to go through my chips one at a time. But I've got like Jumpin' Jack cheese, Doritos, mystery, flamin' hot Doritos, and stuff like that. So we are just in the summer flavors. Do you like tart drinks, Mike? Like a little bit of a tartness to it? Like at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for anything
The
liquid.
the Powerades, 3 Powerades. There's a blue, a green, and a pink one, and they are sours, Powerade sours, and they have a little bit of a tartness to them. They're not like pucker your mouth sour, but they got a little bit to it, and I'd recommend those if you like to change up your sports, sugary workout drinks at the end of the day. So highly recommend those. But yeah, anyway, fun food. We love food. Next, let's get into Legos. The other thing we love just as much as food, Mike, Legos. Lego Star Wars has a new short coming out later this year called Rebuild the Galaxy. And in this, it's kind of essentially a what if, mixing like, hey, there's a TIE fighter / X-Wing if they were merged together kind of thing. And, a bunch of kind of like when you have Legos in your imagination. And Mike, I know you're a person who would build your Legos and then take them apart, right? And put them in their bags. Yes. But like this, if we were truly kids and we didn't care about this is people who would like, oh, I've got this Lego set and this Lego set. What can I merge together to make whatever I want? So this sounds like this show or short looks like somebody just merged a bunch of Star Wars ideas together. And then at the end of it, we get the reveal of Darth Jar Jar Binks in Lego form.
Yeah, I wonder. This is like a two-toned trailer in a way of like it feels very toyetic. Where am I going to be going down the Lego aisle this summer and I'm going to see these mashed up Star Wars like vehicles for sale, which I'm not mad about. I think that's like super cool, and I would enjoy to see kind of how that comes together like on the front of the box. And then the other half of it is like kind of what Lego does second best outside of being a toy, which is like lampooning IP, which is crazy. That's not something we ever thought it would be. Yeah. It did an amazing job with Lego Batman. I should have watched Lego Batman again. That movie is so good, and I always forget about it, and it's always left out of the conversation when like Batman movies are ranked. I totally forgot to say it at the top of the show. I just rewatched for the first time in probably literally decades. It might have been 20 years since I've seen this movie. Batman and Robin, the George Clooney live action.
You were the third person this week to tell me about Batman and Robin, and I don't like it. I don't like these odds. I don't like them at all.
Like I don't know if like Max is like juicing the recommendation algorithm. I don't know how I ended up coming past it, but I was like, I'm going to give it a watch, and it's so wild watching it now as not just as an adult, but with all of like the cultural context that we have around superhero movies and everything. I can't believe I never really recognized it when I was a kid, but Batman and Robin is just a live action cartoon. Everything about it is so cartoonish that's probably why so many people like turned away from it when it came out, because they were kind of used to like trying to adapt this comic book character, to the live action and kind of make it at least somewhat seem real. I mean, Nolan and I guess Matt Reeves have made it seem the most realistic. But this is like a cartoon. Even the way that they talk, it just feels like, oh, this script should have just been animated, and nobody would have blinked an eye. They would have been like, oh, this is a fun like Batman story.
Well, I think it all turned with Batman Forever. I think when you go from Batman and Batman Returns, like those dark Burton-esque ones, and then they're like, okay, Joel Schumacher, you're continuing the story, albeit with different Batman characters, but it's still set in the same universe. And then they go from Batman Forever, which I will always say, I like Tommy Lee Jones, I like Jim Carrey. They were both told, hey, do Two-Face if he was a Joker, and do the Riddler if he was a Joker, kind of things in that movie. And and also what's Robin's name in this movie? Chris something.
Oh God, the actor. Or
the actor. The actor.
Oh God,
he's like 30 years old. He's supposed to be a 17-year-old orphan, but he looks 30 years old going into those movies.
Oh, he's supposed to be 17 in Batman.
In the first one, he's like skipping school or something like that. Like in Batman Forever. Like, and I don't know how much that.
Wow, that's weird because they make Batman and Robin very horny in the movie. That is one thing that I forgot because Poison Ivy. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I forgot how long the camera at the beginning lingers on them suiting up. There's at least almost 24 frames of just their asses at the beginning of the movie, and they are so
Alicia Silverstone. Yeah, it's a disaster piece, but it did actually come back at the end of The Flash, if you remember, because it did bring back the Batman.
But if I had to summarize it, I love Batman and Robin now way more than I did back in the day, because I can look at it more as like a lark, and it's so much fun. I love how big everything is, like how silly it is. Like Mr. Freeze has all of these henchmen for some reason that follow him, and they're always cold and they always have ice skates. It's just so stupid. And then Batman and Robin don't even know they're about to start an altercation with Mr. Freeze, and they happen to have like ice skates in their boots. It's amazing. But all that being said, bringing it back to Lego Batman, then bringing it back down to Lego. I watched like the time travel one. I've only watched one of these Star Wars Lego specials.
Like the first one that was like
it
tried to be too serious, like that first one did, and this one literally looks like you mentioned, is lampooning Star Wars, right? Like, oh, hey, what if the Geonosians had lightsabers instead, and like, what if the Ewoks were the bounty hunters instead of little tree bears at the end of the day? So,
or what if we realize the Darth Jar Jar?
Jar Jar, and that is the funny thing, because like that makes me feel like, you know, whoever wrote this has been given some freedom to like, all right, do whatever you want with this, and they have the cognizance to be on the internet and be like, people want to see Darth Jar Jar. It'll never be legitimized, but we can put it in this, and it will be fun because we have the opportunity to do so. And I love that about that. Someone be like, okay, they're going to do that. And it's funny because I watched The Phantom Menace, a week and a half ago now, a week and 3 days. And my wife we got on, my wife's always like, she's like, it was always Darth Jar Jar. And then this came out. I'm like, wow, this is just between this and Batman and Robin hitting my mind this week. I don't know what's going on, man. Like I'm just all over the place. But yeah, Lego shorts are fun. The Lego games are fun. I'm glad they're doing this. And also, again, like I mentioned last week in Fortnite, maybe 2 weeks ago, there's a whole Lego things in Fortnite now, so you can go have some fun with that. Watch the trailer. A link in the show notes. Moving on to Marvel, Mike, I shared this with you yesterday. There is we always talk about rumors, and when we talk about rumors, we talk about these quote-unquote scoopers. And these scoopers are always, you know, taken with a grain of salt, right? Like we say we do the best we can for reporting, but we always say if it's not true, it's a rumor. If it's not officially from the word, we try to say this is rumor as much as we can. But finally, after some time, Marvel and the VP of Marvel Legal has issued a DMCA subpoena for the leaker account CanWeGetSomeToast, who is known for leaking a lot of, or at least postulating a lot of rumors and stuff about the MCU, whether it be at that moment, things that can change, whatever. But this is because I think in April they shared that photo of Captain America's new suit reveal before it officially came out. And you might think, Mike, you know this, looking at that suit, that was nothing huge, right? Nothing was spoiled by looking at Captain America's outfit, right? McDonald's has those toys in their store right now with his outfit on it. But the thing with that is, with an image that is actually not owned by them, that opened them up to a DMCA takedown rather than just postulating rumors and speculation. Because when you when you post pre-release content that's owned by a corporation, that opens you up to lawsuits, and that's where that came from. If you didn't know that,
yeah, it makes me wonder how much of they kind of have to risk like the Streisand effect here, right? You know, they're putting all of this light now on this user that I didn't know existed. I didn't know about. Can we get some toast? But now I do. So is Marvel going to be able to kind of like clip their wings and remove them permanently from the internet now? I guess it depends on what can you actually get from the subpoena. Like, are they going to actually get any sort of identifiable information? If they do, can they do anything with it? You know, and also, I guess we have to consider the fact that if somebody's getting this information, is it somebody on the inside? I'm always impressed, really, how much information kind of we don't end up knowing about things, because these huge Hollywood movies are gigantic collaborative effort, right? So many people involved. Like, we've gotten our own scoops in the past before from like costume adjacent departments of things. So it's like they can come from anywhere. And I'm always surprised how much we don't know about a film before it comes out. But I do have to say, I go out of my way not to read it, so maybe there is more out there than I can come across.
To me, this person's familiar. I'm familiar with their account. I don't follow their account, so I'm not doing this stuff. But some people, it used to be where leakers used to have a throwaway accounts. They post a rumor on the throwaway count and leave, right? But some scoopers have made it like their personality on the internet. Like some people even have paywalls and like subscription services. I think I forget the guy's name. It's not Schneider or something like that. But like he's like, oh, I've got these rumors. Like he's not an insider, but someone's telling him, and he puts it behind a paywall. But as long as he doesn't show anything that's not his, it's all still rumors. But as you mentioned, films are huge processes that take months, if not years, with different departments who are isolated, who don't get to see the final thing at the end of the day. So like, where do leaks come from? How fresh are they? Are they even relevant these days? When something comes out. But this person came against us, is even sharing stuff today, Mike. Like even after this DMCA was sent, either on Friday or Saturday, they're still posting things afterwards. So they probably don't see any. I guess they may either be using a very nice VPN. Maybe they're out of country and aren't subject to DMCA laws or subpoena laws that Disney's looking for. But it looks like they're trying to make an example out of some of these bigger Marvel leakers, if you will, at the end of the day. So we will. I'm gonna keep you guys posted as this one plays out because I'm interested to see how it goes because we do get some of our rumors from them as we use that. Sad news this weekend. Roger Corman, a very highly esteemed B-list movie director, passed away at age 98. And a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't even know he was still alive. He hasn't done anything lately, but like he was, famous for making a lot of movies in like 3 days and just doing like first shot go kind of thing and just cranking out these B-list movies. I know I had to watch his stuff when I was in bad films. He did the first Little Shop of Horrors before the musical came along later. Jack Nicholson, he discovered Jack Nicholson there. I know a lot of directors have been.
Let me read off just a couple titles here to prime people. I just did a quick Roger Corman Google.
Yeah.
We're looking at Attack of the 50-Foot Cheerleader, Sharktopus, Dino Croc Super Gator. This one's just called Raptor.
Well, I would say
White Pony.
You're probably reading his newer stuff. I would probably go back like pre 2000s, like back. He's 98 this year. Like I would go back before he was 70. I don't know how much directing he's been kind of lately.
Carnosaurus, In the Heat of Passion, Frankenstein Unbound. These are all back in the day, but man, a lot of people might not have high opinions of his work, but the fact that anyone in Hollywood can work an entire career up until maybe 2017, I think is the last movie I see on this list. I mean, that's an accomplishment. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, exactly. We watched his movies, A Bucket of Blood and Little Shop of Horrors. Again, pre-musical. It was based on this movie. And then he would just do the first take, and he's great. But I will say, related to the show, he was the producer on the 1994 Fantastic Four movie that was never released. He was very involved with that, making sure it was like a low-budget kind of thing. But obviously, it was never released, sadly. But you can find it. I think you can find it.
Now's
on YouTube.
the time. I'm sure he bequeathed some of his things to family. Yeah. I mean, pull out that Betamax tape, whatever film reel stock it's on, and get that on the Internet Archive for us.
The rumor is for that movie, by the way, is that I think it was maybe Avi Arad bought all the copies of the tapes that they had, like or whatever, and burned them. So like the one that got out was like the one that seemed like they really did. But like he is also like there's a documentary that came out in 2015 called Doomed: The Untold Story of Roger Corman's and Fantastic Four, which I just got a copy of on my Plex server like a couple months ago. So I'm probably gonna watch the movie and dive into that, or vice versa, because obviously they are on a it's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's never released, so there's no copyright. So sad to hear him go, and just such an influential movie maker. You may not realize it, but he was for the time. But moving on into today's Fantastic Four from Marvel Studios, they have announced officially that actor Ralph Ineson, is that how we pronounce it? Ineson, known for
Sure.
roles in Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, has been cast as Galactus. So you may not know this character off the top of your head, but when you look at him, like, I've seen him in movies. You're like, it's that guy.
He's got a familiar face. When I saw the headlines come out this weekend, I saw a lot of people say Harry Potter actor, and I was like, I don't remember this guy.
Yeah.
And then I looked him. He was just like a miscellaneous Death Eater. I'm sure the character is probably more fleshed out in the books. And then I could kind of maybe look at him and go, oh, maybe I did see him in something in Game of Thrones, but none of this is bad. We say on this show all of the time when they're casting these iconic roles, like, yes, give me somebody that I'm not familiar with. Let me grow into the character and the role rather than just like, oh, let's just bring the star power. And, now you have to work extra hard to kind of look past what their whole career that they've done. So I think this is cool. I mean, are we just to look at his just face imposed under a giant helmet? Like, is that what we're expecting? Well, is Galactus going to have this like little beard he's got going on?
I don't think so. You know that as well as I do. I mean, they did what Josh Brolin when they did with Thanos. Like, you could see Josh Brolin in there a little bit, but it wasn't Josh Brolin, right? They implemented some of his look in there. So, however they decided to do Galactus, I don't think it'll be mine. He's also got a really, really good voice. I was saving this point for those who may have played Diablo 4 recently. He plays a character called Lorath, who is like your kind of narrator for the game. So he's got like his voice, like you may see his face, but this guy's voice is just phenomenally deep, and like, you're gonna be like, oh, this is like a guy who was hired for how he sounds, not necessarily his looks at the end of the day. Not saying he doesn't look bad, but I'm just saying they hired him so whenever Galactus talks, you're gonna remember when Galactus talks. So if you've not played Diablo 4, look up Lorath and just listen to him because he nails it.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost the thread of a lot of our Fantastic Four rumors versus official announcements. So I kind of took this as like, oh, Galactus is actually going to be in this movie. Yep. That's great. I don't know if there'll be a huge character. They're literally
huge. Wink, wink. Yeah.
But we do know, maybe not factually, but extremely heavily implied that this version of the Fantastic Four exists within another universe. So this could always be a thing where maybe this Galactus does or doesn't stick around, or maybe Galactus is the impetus that throws them into a different multiverse, or maybe Galactus is about to win, in Act 2 and eat them, and then they get, thrown into a different universe. I'm not entirely sure, but Galactus confirmed is kind of what I take away.
Yeah. We've got again, obviously, Silver Surfer's confirmed, the Fantastic Four, and then we had Paul Walter Hauser last week in an announced role, and then also we're getting actor John Malkovich in an undisclosed role. It's not secret role; it's undisclosed. I'm thinking he's going to be like Dr. Storm, like the father of Johnny and Sue Storm, right? Because they always seem to have him in most of these movies. But when they count John Malkovich, I'm like, oh, he'd be an interesting kind of Galactus, like a more like pensive version, right? Like one who's like, oh, I'm not really, I'm not just here to eat you and be angry, but like, obviously not. They cast somebody else as Galactus, so they're really kind of leaning into some of these bigger names. I know some people. I was talking with a friend of the show about John Malkovich. She's like, well, he's not really been anything good lately. He's kind of gone off the rails. I'm like, yeah, but he is a character actor, right? Like, kind of like Ben Kingsley is, and like, how he was in Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi. Like, John Malkovich would be an interesting character actor in this at the end of the day. So they're really, I wouldn't say stacking the cast, but I love all these announcements. I love these confirmations. I know they're supposed to start filming around July, so Mike, this movie went from like 0 to 60 really, really fast. It feels like, I'm excited.
Which is crazy considering it was announced in 2019 at Comic-Con, which is, wow, 5 years ago we saw that first logo, and now finally cameras are starting to get turned on.
Yeah, it's as far as I know, it's beating Blade currently still. So we'll see how this goes. But it's coming out in summer of 2025. Very, very excited for Fantastic Four. We'll keep you guys posted if anything else pops out of that. A movie I actually hadn't thought about until I was actually playing Marvel Rivals, because Black Panther is a character. But Black Panther 3 is is obviously I think it's in the cards at Marvel, right? Whenever we're going to talk about Bob Iger talking about reducing Marvel output, I think Black Panther is a viable franchise that they want to keep going on, right? First movie made over $1 billion, cultural phenomenon. We lost Chadwick Boseman between the first two movies. Tragically, they had the task of rewriting that movie, refilming it for Black Panther 2, and also during COVID and a Bob Chapek era. It came out. It's not really a true superhero movie, but it's a really, as we discussed, like a cathartic movie about loss and dealing with picking up the pieces. So I think Black Panther 3 is still in the cards, Mike, at the end of the day. And
yeah, even though like I've kind of weathered on the sequel over the years. I've brought it up before. No one even really talks about the sequel anymore. It's really never in conversation when people are just talking about the MCU moving forward. I just don't think it made a lot of impact on people. I mean, yeah, it was heavy material, but I mean, no. Sometimes I even forget Namor was in the movie. Like that's just like how overshadowed everything is in that movie of the events outside of the film.
Yeah, it carries a lot of weight. But I will say it's also the only Marvel movie to get it was a supporting actress nomination at the Oscars with Angela Bassett. So nothing to shrug that at.
That's
like
true.
That like it does have its merits, but as you mentioned, it's not like anything we have to worry about right now catching up on, right?
Yeah. I always feel so weird, like kind of critiquing the movie, knowing that like it was kind of like in a lose-lose situation. So I guess if I have to imagine a Black Panther 3, like I don't want to necessarily say back to basics, but the first Black Panther movie is like fun in a way of like we're going on this adventure. There's awesome like action scenes. We like just everything is like popping off. Like Michael B. Jordan like showing up with like these iconic lines like "Hi, Auntie" and stuff like that. Great stuff going on in that first film.
Well, and also it had the benefit of it was an origin movie, but not an origin movie, right? Like we talk about, we weren't weighted down. Like Black Panther had been introduced in Civil War and kind of was able to come in here and kind of set this world and show us a little bit. So we have some opportunities going forward with that. But I was going to say, is that necessarily the plot? But like Ryan Coogler would be obviously the person director, right? To close out your trilogy, kind of do a James Gunn, right? I feels like if I could say Black Panther is one of those trilogies that's not touched by Marvel Studios proper, like no committee, like Black Panther would be that. Ryan Coogler would be that director, right? He kind of was able to shepherd this in. I feel everything he's done, he did the way he wanted it to do. Even with the making those adjustments, but there is rumor that he might hand the film off to someone else and maybe direct either Avengers 5 or Secret Wars, in the immediate future, if you will. Do you think? I know right now he's filming an actual vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan, but do you see? I don't have anything to base this on. Ryan Coogler, I think he could direct either one of those movies just fine. I don't have any issues with him or his role as a director.
I don't think it would be a problem. I mean, like I was just saying, like if I kind of want, the Black Panther franchise family character to be reinvigorated, a new director is not a bad way to look at it too. Bring somebody else into the fold, and then Coogler gets a nice promotion to like a huge big franchise. That would be really sweet.
Yeah.
So no complaints here. I feel like this is also another big conversation too of like Marvel's just like, we gotta make these big Avengers movies. They're just lingering out there. We don't know exactly if Kang's gonna be in them, who's gonna be directing them. We might have an idea of who we want to like write them. So everything's still so nebulous with these two Avengers movies coming.
I think they know. I just don't think we know yet, right? Like we need to go ask the Can We Get Some Toast person. Like, hey, can you just tell us who's doing this? Because I think they know. I think the writers have been confirmed. The directors, they're trying to pull in people who've done successful movies. It feels like they're trying to hire successful movie people who've worked before, right? Like whether it's Sam Raimi who did Doctor Strange, Ryan Coogler in here. There's opportunities to bring those successful directors into this. I still think they need to have dual directors, and I think they need to have dual writers. That worked out great for the last Avengers movies and all the other movies we loved in phase 1, 2, and 3. Now, the other possibility, and this came up first actually before this, was that Ryan Coogler might be eyed to possibly instead do this and do the X-Men movie like after this. Like he could direct the first X-Men movie due to his kind of success again with the Black Panther franchise, and he could focus the energy.
like the pathos there, I think really fits. I mean, we were talking about it a week ago, where X-Men was always an allegory, for racism in America, and I feel like Coogler could attack that better than some other directors out there. Mm-hmm. There's talk about just like the separation of just Wakanda and the rest of the world. They talked about that.
Well, yeah,
in this film.
Well,
So.
the idea of isolationist nations, the idea of obviously a mutant academy, Charlie Xavier Academy, but like Genosha, right? If anyone's been watching X-Men '97. They've revisited the island of Genosha, which has been popular in the comic books for years. So, like, if they needed to do a Genosha movie, guess what? You've got someone who has experience in this stuff, and I think he can handle, a team movie fairly well. He knows how to handle different abilities. I would love to see that. I think he's a great director. I think he has vision and is able to execute that. So, if they want to give him anything, I'd definitely be behind it. Right? I think give him what he wants to work on and let him stretch his wings a little bit. Be great. One of the spinoffs out of Black Panther 2, actually, I don't even remember this, was Riri Williams, Mike, who has her own show that has been filmed and is sitting somewhere waiting to be shown eventually. But she's supposed to show up in the Armor Wars Now movie, but the rumors, the leakers, the scoopers who are not as good on the I'm shaking my hand like you can see it, like iffy on Success have said that Armor Wars has possibly been scrapped. I don't think that's likely, due to, again, we've heard till we're blue in the face the past 6 months or more about Bob Iger saying they're going to reduce the Marvel output on TV and movies, and they're going to focus on what works as a franchise, characters people know. Armor Wars has a huge opportunity to bring back War Machine, Don Cheadle, who got them nominated for, what was it, an Emmy for his 10 seconds in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. But like, not just that, but like, be able to kind of bring some of that Tony Stark stuff that Spider-Man probably won't have back into the MCU that people are comfortable with. And then with this, Bob Iger saying they're reducing MCU output numbers to 2 TV shows a year and 2 or 3 movies a year. Asterisk after this year, not this year. But like, if they're going to be doing this few movies that are currently on schedule, Armor Wars may just be delayed rather than completely wiped out, right? Like, I feel like the plot points that it's just not like, oh, we don't need to rush this out anytime soon.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, 2 things. I always forget when we're talking about these Marvel movies, because we're always thinking so like big brain, blue sky, universe connecting thoughts. But if you look at it just based on the arc of the character of Rhodes in these movies, the last time we saw him canonically within the MCU, he was body snatched by aliens. Like,
in the show that they will probably just hand wave away later on, but yes.
Yeah, and that's just such a dramatic turn of events for a character. How do you not make how would the entirety of Armor Wars just not be about how he was like captured in like an alien basement for who knows number of years? Like, his reputation should be tarnished, I'm sure. Like, he's done tons of things to close friends and family that he has to like call for
or not remember.
That movie does not sound like something that gets made. So like, I almost think like, oh yeah, maybe they just scrap the movie entirely, and just the next time we see War Machine, he's just on the big battlefield of Secret Wars, and then he just has like a one-off quip about, oh, where have you been recently?
Oh no,
well, you seem different. Like, oh, I wasn't myself the last couple of years.
See, I hate that, because that's what they did to him really in Endgame, right? He just kind of showed up in the battle in this brand new suit. I think as a character, and dealing with the legacy of Tony Stark's suits, having Riri Williams build her own and this together is where it's going to be. I think Secret Invasion will never be touched on again, Mike. Like, if anything, they're gonna, like we mentioned last week, was it like Nick Fury just went from Secret Invasion right into the Marvels 2, and they'll never even touch that he has a wife. I think Rhodes, hey, I'm, they might have a one way about like, hey, I don't remember that, or it was only like a week, maybe it wasn't forever, I don't know, but like, I feel they need to really focus. Like, if it's called Armor Wars, it's not Iron or it's not Rhodes or War Machine the movie. They need to focus on where are Tony Stark's suits gone now that he is essentially dead at the end of the day.
Also, make armored suits cool again. Like, I know it was very convenient for Tony to have like the nano particles that could form kind of whatever he wanted, and there was a cool moment, when he's fighting Thanos on, was it Proxima Nova? Was that his planet? I don't remember the name of his planet.
Oh no, it's Titan.
In Infinity Titan. Yeah, that's right, Titan.
I was like, where did that name come from?
The bots are like swarming from limb to limb because they were dwindling, and just down to his hand or whatever. Like, that was cool, but like you really kind of remove the character from the idea of like they need this suit to make them like special and strong, and like just basic things of like, I have to be near the suit needs to have energy, there's moving parts, there's mechanic stuff going here. If something breaks, I have to fix it, and that was one of the cooler things about Black Panther 2 is when we get to see Riri Williams like kind of building her own and putting her own spin on it. So if they're going to do Armor Wars, like make the suits cool again, and
it's
like
gotta be
I don't know
focus.
how you navigate around that Secret Wars story.
Yeah, I think you just a Secret Invasion. I think you just ignore a Secret Invasion. But like the one character I think I've loved and kind of got shafted in Iron Man 2, right? Because it's early MCU is Justin Hammer, right? Bring Justin Hammer back. After the blip, he's now a government contractor again. Tony Stark's out. He's dead. Hammer's picked up. He's got some extra suits. They're making Tony like it's got to be a thing with that. But I hope it's not. But at the end of the day, if they're going to reduce quantity and go to quality, it may very well be on the chopping block because this movie was a TV show, now a movie, has gone through so many iterations at the end of the day. One of the shows that we talked about, the animated shows coming up, is Eyes of Wakanda. I don't think we've seen any animation. I think we've just seen maybe a logo, heard about it. But it's Disney sent out, hey, here are the shows coming out this year. Eyes of Wakanda is one of those shows coming out this year, so that's great. We get to, again, kind of touch on the history of the Wakandan, was it the Watchers or whatever they call themselves, the ones they send out to the world and are disguised as regular people for years, so they're going to do that. Other shows include Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, previously known as Spider-Man Freshman Year. Hit Monkey Season 2 is the only one with a date in July, and the live-action Agatha series are coming out this year. And I forgot Hit Monkey even got renewed for Season 2. Like, I was like, oh my god, I forgot about this.
I need to get some hat seasoning from Trader Joe's, because if Hit Monkey gets a third season, I'll eat my hat. I will be shocked if that continues on. The only conceivable way Hit Monkey gets a third season, if for some reason, like, it just fits every kind of like financial like benchmark in a way of just like, well, we got the team ready to go. Like, we have like this earmarked like animation budget that's like technically not touching some of these other things. We'll kind of slot it underneath like our Hulu kind of full acquisition, and then I think we could kind of technically get a third season out of it.
And I think we talked about like the only reason it has a second season is because I think they recorded all the audio and they had a contract to do X number of episodes when they bought Hulu, and they just made them do it. I don't think there's any hope for this, despite the fact it's about Jason Sudeikis as the main character in Hit Monkey and it just being wild. I'll tell you, if I remember this TV show come August, I'll be surprised at the end of the day. But possibly, I'm excited to finally see that Spider-Man alternate universe show getting put out, right, where he's working with Norman Osborn with all the suits. Eyes of Wakanda, huge question. Now, I did see there's no word on Marvel Zombies or What If Season 3 yet. So I know we had a preview of What If Season 3. Do you think they might save that one for like a surprise announcement at the end of the year, like they did What If Season 2? Like, hey, here's your holiday again with What If Season 3. And Marvel Zombies, I know that's probably coming because it's a spinoff of What If Season 3, but it's said that we've got to wait probably another year.
Yeah, those seem like properties that would be really useful for filling kind of like release gaps. They have to do so much pivoting with the schedule of the live action MCU. That seems to be like the number one thing that they're doing with Star Wars content, of just like, oh, May the 4th is coming up and we don't have anything live action ready. Well, luckily we got these animated shows ready to go. We have these kind of like pocketed and done and dropped. So I would imagine that's kind of, these animated properties are kind of like held a little bit longer because they have a longer shelf life and they can kind of drop them when they need them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised after the in improved feedback on What If season 2, if like a What If season 4 was even being in the works still, right? Like, hey, we're gonna just kind of chug along that pipeline. But I forgot to put it in here, and I sent this to you. The What If, they announced an Apple Vision Pro experience for Marvel's What If, only on Apple Vision Pro coming later this year. And I said this is the most expensive thing I've ever heard announced in my life.
What did you claim it was like the $3,000 episode?
It's a $4,000 episode because it's $3,500 base plus everything else you have to get to run an Apple Vision Pro, and you're just experiencing an episode for it.
Like, so, I'm sure it's cool. I'd love to experience it, but I mean, what are the odds somebody jailbreaks it and like there's some sort of like APK that gets uploaded to the internet, and then I can like run it on like my janky MetaQuest 2.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's probably more than just an episode. And I don't want to sell it short. Like, it's not just sit and watch an episode in 3D. There's probably some experience to it, but the fact that, again, I know Disney has partnered with Apple before to get the Disney Plus app on here, but like, this is a very niche product, like super niche. Like, I know people who have it and people who haven't used them like longer than their quests that they have. They're like, there's just nothing out there for it. And I'm like, why would you put, Marvel, like, you want them to be bad? Marvel's not selling your headsets. I'll tell you that right now. This is the opposite direction. Because you like What If, you're not buying an Apple Vision Pro headset. You're going to probably go watch someone who recorded it on YouTube and watch them do it, right, and do that. Yeah. The only interesting thing is it's a new episode where Captain Marvel is Nova, but I'm like, that's still not enough to sell me on even trying this somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder when kind of this was kicked off, because we always talk about how, animation, takes longer than anything else. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was, already in the works before the Vision Pro even launched, when they were kind of making those original deals. So I would say, in a sense of, they're a little lucky, because it seems to be the only, like, the Apple Vision Pro only has like 2 killer apps. If killer is, I would say, a stretch, is people like watching TV on them and also using web browsers, which is funny. So, I mean, this leans into
things
the
you
whole
can do
TV
in a Quest
side of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. But so that just means this is definitely tied to Apple for sure. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in a year or two, there's something that expires, and then we can watch it.
That happened with the Iron Man VR game. Remember that we experienced at San Diego Comic-Con? They released it only on PlayStation. And then, like, I think it was like 2, maybe 3 years later, like, okay, we put it on Quest simply because the user base is there, right? Like, we're not a tech show by any means, but for those who don't know, the Quest OS has opened up to other headset makers. Meta is not the only person who can make VR headsets with Quest OS. That opens the user base even more. The Apple headset, if you're in an Apple ecosystem, you have to have the Apple Vision Pro. There's no Apple Vision Pro 2 announced, and no Apple Vision consumer model coming anytime soon. So if we finally get to watch this, Mike, it might be 5 years if we get to experience ourselves. Or maybe, this would be the opportunity where I book an appointment at the Apple store to demo this. I'm like, just preload this What If app for me. That's all I want to do while I'm there. Nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of but yeah, it's just wild that this. I get it. There are experiences that we're just not going to have, but in a world where like it's all connected, this is very, very disconnected from everybody else. Moving on, Avengers Endgame, and I say this is Avengers Endgame. This is actually probably tighter, but like there are rumors of Chris Evans led Captain America series to return the Infinity Stones, Mike. And the only reason that this has come back up is that Bob Iger said that they're looking to make event television again, and this would be, to me, I think, one of the most must-watch shows on Disney Plus if they did this series.
It's so weird because I am so down the middle on this either being an awful idea or a great idea. Like, it's a great idea, obviously, because you're putting Captain America back on people's screens. People love Chris Evans as Captain America. This was one of the ideas that was floated on very early before Disney Plus even launched. Of like, oh, this would be a great launch title, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I just feel like Cap and Tony were just set off into the sunset so perfectly in Endgame. Like, I understand the desire to go back to the characters. I get that us as fans want to see them again, but I just feel like sometimes just, you got to have the integrity to let it go. let sleeping horses lie.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it couldn't be good. I mean, it makes sense. This seems like the perfect type of miniseries to put together. And it's not like I wouldn't watch it out of protest or anything, but like, you better make it good. If this is bad, I will be so mad.
Yeah, well, I don't think Chris Evans would come back for anything short of a good series, right? Like he could write his own way. He is what's going to make or break this series. Like, it's either going to happen if he says yes, or it's not going to happen if he says no. And he doesn't need anything to be successful, right? He can do whatever he wants at this point. But like, to me, it's again 6 stones, 6 episodes, be interesting to watch. It would just be a huge event. I think everyone would watch it, and I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for shows that everyone has to tune in, right? Like, how many people did we tell you have to watch Secret Invasion right now? The last show that I remember there. Literally, I didn't tell anyone, you don't have to watch this. Like, honestly, I'd avoid it like the plague if that was it. Loki, I think Loki was a great show, and I didn't tell people to watch it, but like, there are more misses than hits in the Marvel series realm. But I think this would be that. Now, it doesn't. Maybe it isn't this. Maybe they come up with another big event. But like, you need to have stakes, and you have to look at what people are asking for. And I would say, we as people who sit here and can be armchair quarterbacks for Marvel all day long. But like, do they have the tags, the search indication that says people are looking up Captain America returning the Infinity Stones? We need to make this show because the desire from not just us but consumers as a whole is there, right? So as long as they have a good reason to make it, and as you mentioned, it's great, I'm down. If they're just doing it to do it, like, I don't think we need to revisit a movie from 5 years ago either, right? Like, it's now been 5 years. I think we've missed the mark. That probably should have been the first show on Disney Plus, but we'll see if they get to it. It's all rumors. Thankfully, it's all rumors. Speaking of rumors, the last kind of rumor-esque thing we have here, we have a photo of actress Kristen Ritter with purple hair, and people are like, why is this important? Well, there's a version of Jessica Jones in the comic books, her called Jewel, her persona. We kind of saw her costume in season 1 a little bit as a purple white. In there, people are thinking that she's dying her hair to come back as Jewel in the Daredevil Born Again series.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the Purple Man shirt on, right? I think she's got a shirt in this picture. Isn't that David Tennant? Is that his name?
Yeah,
the Doctor.
It might be a Doctor Who shirt, right? I can't tell. It's backwards and upside down, but absolutely, like, is she teasing, or is she just like saying, "Hey, call me, I'll do it, call me," kind of thing?
It would be fun. I mean, you'd lose credibility with your fans pretty quickly, but wouldn't it be crazy to just be an actor that's been in one of these movies and then just randomly post cryptic stuff of like, oh, I'm gonna post a picture of this comic book, and then have people speculating forever? Well, it'd be really easy to mess with people.
Well, it's funny because we did. What was it? Finn Jones had the comic book, right? The Iron Man Power Fist comic book. She's got the purple hair. This is the second time we've actually seen her kind of come back with that. We know Charlie Cox is there filming. We've not seen the actor who played Luke Cage yet do anything suspicious on social media, so we probably need to go check his stuff, see if we're missing that. But like, it'd be fun to have him in there as a little reference in Daredevil Born Again. I don't need a whole show about the old Defenders or the Netflix series, but it would be fun, right, to acknowledge that and have him in there. So I don't know. I'm excited. Daredevil Born Again. I think they've said they might have finished primary filming on the first 9 episodes of this. Might be the only 9. Who knows at this point? So we'll keep you guys posted. And I'm sorry to keep everyone waiting so long. We're an hour and 8 minutes into the show. We haven't even talked about the new look at David Cornsweet as Superman from James Gunn, Mike. And this image is so special because it's filmed entirely in camera. None of this was edited after the fact. So, boy, there has been the internet rounds on the good and bad of this photo, Mike, this week. So much I actually forgot about this a little bit, but it's been up in the air in the discussion. But go on, let's break it down.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it looks the costume looks great. This guy looks exactly like an incarnation of Superman, almost so like if you look at it just briefly, it almost kind of looks like Henry Cavill a little bit as well. So you almost kind of have to like reground yourself and be like, oh, this is a new image. So I don't know if this is a telling that the character design of Superman is so great, and he's such an everyman that you can slot almost any kind of like white dude in there, and it looks like Superman.
You got dark hair with a little curl at the front and a very, very chiseled jaw. I mean, right.
Yeah, or does David Cornsweet, is that how we're saying his name?
Cornsweet,
or does he just like look so much like a Superman already? I mean, it looks great. You know, he's suiting up. If I have to like really speculate about this one singular image, it would be kind of cool to see Superman Clark Kent's apartment. You know, we never really see Superman from the angle that we get to see something like a Peter Parker, right? Where we actually get to see them like living their day-to-day life, and how do they balance being Superman with, you know, also trying to have a personal life working at a newspaper. So maybe this is kind of hinting more at that.
Yeah.
Then on the other side.
Well, I was going to say the other thing to me is that this is the first, like, he's not rushing to get ready because there are other superheroes out in this world already, right? Like, every Superman we've seen is him having to solve all the world's problems, pretty much. And in this situation,
it is kind of weird because he's getting dressed slowly. It almost looks like the camera pans over as like Lois Lane in bed, and he's just like, I gotta go, I got work in the morning. And I kind of get those vibes if he's ending a late night rendezvous.
He's not. Your phone booths don't exist anymore. He's putting his clothes back on. He's got a little bit of battle damage here, obviously. So his suit's not repairing in between fights. But like, there's a green blast back there. Is that the Green Lantern that we know is going to be in here, played by Nathan Fillion? You know, who is creating that big orb and the purple stuff around it? Like, he is not in a hurry because guess what? He's not the only person in this world fighting bad guys in Metropolis. So that's really cool to me that he's like, oh my god, I gotta solve everything, and everyone's like, why is he in a hurry? And I'm like, well, because obviously other people are there, right? Like, you know, they're carrying the assignment. He's gonna show up at the 11th hour and claim credit for beating everybody. But what was your other take on this?
Seeing this out of context, though, I didn't know it was like camera trick and it was all in camera or whatever. And, you know, I don't think we're supposed to perceive this as a scene from the movie necessarily. It's just like a promo hype image. But I looked in the background and I was like, oh, is this just like a bad Photoshop? Like, is this just like, oh, throw an energy beam back there and we'll see what it looks like. So obviously I was drawing too much from it before I knew what it was, but it begs the question, if it's all in camera, is this like a traditional like LED screen in the background? Is this a volume that they're working in? You know, is it a matte painting? I mean, who knows? I mean, Gunn is at the point in his career where if he wanted matte paintings in his movies, he could get matte paintings done.
I texted you about matte paintings. What did I text you about matte paintings earlier the other day?
I do not recall.
It was a movie that we were like, oh man, they're actually doing something with real paintings again. Oh, Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars Skeleton Crew. They're actually brought back Phil Tippett, who worked on Jurassic Park, Star Wars movie, to do stop motion matte paintings, old fashioned matte paintings, and an ILM painter out of retirement too. So that's pretty cool. But like, I don't think this is matte paintings, and I don't think it's a volume. I don't assume everything's a volume. I think it looks like it's LED walls supposed to be outside, because those are just huge windows for an apartment, I guess, in Manhattan, or not Manhattan, Metropolis. A lot of people have pointed out that, you know, for the design, the Superman design's great. He's wearing the red trunks. You can see it kind of in the shadows there. Everyone was like, is the cape real? The cape kind of looks really, really off red for being quote unquote in camera, if you will. Like, I don't know if you noticed that about it or not. I don't care enough to look at the cape, but like,
I feel like that leans to the fact that it is real, because if it was fake, you could color match it exactly to the rest of the costume. I look at it as like, oh, the boots and the symbol on the suit, you know, are, you know, rubber or some sort of other material, and then somebody had to track down fabric that was close enough, or maybe they didn't want to match it. They wanted to go in a slightly different vibe. So yeah, I didn't really question the cape.
Yeah, I think it was more the texture than the color, but like, overall, I would say this is an interesting first reveal from James Gunn. As we always say, costumes look better in motion. He's got some bunching up around his shoulders as he's leaning forward to put on his boots. Not that it matters in a still shot, but the internet has been very, I wouldn't say divided. They've kind of been down on it, kind of like parodying this and like making memes out of it. But at the same time, like, people are talking about it. So I mean, that's a plus, right? So I see nothing inherently bad here, but boy, do I have questions about the world they're playing in. Is what I'm walking away with this. Like, what is in the background? What are they doing? I love a good light beam towards the sky, Mike. You know, that's a staple of every good superhero movie. But we'll keep you guys posted if we get any more stuff on that. Last bit of DC news here, Mike, is that Batman: The Caped Crusader, the animated show that was not picked up by Warner Brothers but by Amazon, has given us our first official images, including Batman, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Clayface from the upcoming series.
It reminded me that we talked about, we had some sort of
the leak images
look at these and we saw, like, you know, Harley Quinn was the big one because it's like a departure. Yep. But it makes sense. I mean, you can't just, there's currently a running Harley Quinn animated TV show, so you can't just do, you know, something similar. So I like that it's a different turn. Well, and this is this looks great.
This looks, I mean, it's very much like, when I look at it, the first thing I get is animated series vibes, right? Like, you know, especially when we get to Catwoman and kind of Clayface. Like, Clayface has like that dark, but he's been kind of redone with his looks there. Looks more villainous. Obviously, Harley Quinn is more of a green and yellow thing, and she's actually, like, I think Batman's like her. She has no relation to the Joker in this show, is what they said. So I'm excited to see it in motion at the end of the day. But, you know, I see the vibes, the homage from the animated series, but not being the animated series. I think the one thing I will always say, his ears are way too tall for me to not just stare at immediately on this Batman photo. Like, whoa. How is he got to duck through every door he's got to go through to get those in there, or what? So I'm excited to see this.
You know, Batman doesn't go through doors; he just appears in rooms.
He busts through walls and ceilings, right? Like he just does that stuff. So yeah, we'll check that. But we have all links to all those photos here in the show notes. Check them out. Let us know what you think as well. Lastly, Warner Brothers, David Zaslav is I don't like him. I don't like him. I'm sure nobody else likes him either. But he has announced that there is a Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum movie, live action movie coming in 2026, and they have confirmed that Andy Serkis will play Gollum and will also be the director of this movie. Good for him, but it's a really weird. They're rebuilding, or I guess they're adding on to their current Lord of the Rings trilogy, or I guess what's the 6 movies, by tapping into a very offhand mention story of the hunt for Gollum that never was really talked about in the books, but just mentioned briefly in this.
Is this I mean, you might not know because we're not huge, you know, Lord of the Rings lore people. Is this a sequel to Return of the King, or is this like a pocket story that kind of happens?
Prequel to the first 3 movies, but it happens after The Hobbit, but before Lord of the Rings. It's in the middle there.
Oh, okay.
Because so there is a line in this. Aragorn says is talking to Gandalf where he, you know, that he heard about, you know, someone who had the ring, and Aragorn went hunting for him to look for him, and this is that movie. Essentially, is what they're taking. Like, you know, how did Gollum, you know, when Gollum left the cave to go find Bilbo, what does he know about where the ring went to at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with Lord of the Rings? I mean, obviously, right now the strategy is you make money with it. Why not? Why wouldn't you do it?
Unless you're Amazon, you spend money with it.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do, all you have to do is make one more movie, right, to re-release another like super expensive like box set, or, you know, to get people to, you know, buy them all again in like 8K. Maybe this aligns with like another like, you know, video standard or something. But it does beg the question of the longevity. Obviously, at some point in our lifetime, Chris, we might be elderly, but Lord of the Rings gets rebooted, right? Yeah. I mean, everyone will be like, why those original movies were perfect, why make them again? And it's like, well, because of money, you know,
it's
and who knows, maybe they stretch them out. Yeah, maybe they stretch them out to 6 movies and they put mini series on streaming alongside of them. But as of right now, it's in this kind of odd spot of just like nobody really wants to touch the original trilogy, so we're just kind of making stuff before it or around it, or technically not the same, and the rights holders are different. Like, Amazon's, like you mentioned, has got the one for Prime, but there's a new one that's Warner Brothers adjacent.
Warner Brothers owns the
then I
film
know
rights, but I think there's was it Embracer Group or somebody else owns literally everything else. Is weird.
Yeah, and I like that same group, I believe, also owns like the theme park rights too. So, like, obviously there's more Lord of the Rings on the horizon, but who's gonna do it right and justify it's just, it must be really difficult to be like a huge Lord of the Rings fan, because you just don't know what's coming and what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, there's two sides. This one is, if you're fans of the originals and not the Hobbits, you have those. They're not touching them. Thank God they're not touching them, right? They're just leaving those things alone. They're actually putting them back in theaters this summer, in case you didn't know that, to bring even more money in. So that's cool that they're leaving those, and you can have those. If you like the Hobbits, great, you can have those too. But we're at a different interesting point where you mentioned, like, we talked about the War of the Rohirrim, the anime movie. Like, they're just throwing things at a wall to see what sticks, it feels like. Because we have the War of the Rohirrim anime movie. Amazon is doing the Rings of Power. I enjoyed the Rings of Power. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so like I can slide myself in there to that the statics, but like they're just taking too long to make it. I think it's been 2 years since the last one came out, and we don't know when the next one is. And then again, they have this movie announced that is part of the live action stuff. It brings back Andy Serkis, Gollum himself, the guy who's essentially revolutionized motion capture, right, and playing those characters. I think it's great.
Yeah,
but like,
do we get like do they do the awful move of giving us like a cameo of a slightly younger, like, do we get like a toddler Frodo, or like a
is it
a
Aragorn
DILF
focused
version
even
of Gandalf?
Well, is it even Aragorn? Like they can't bring back, obviously, can't think of the actor's name, but like do they recast and put him in there? Like what is this for, and what does it do? I get it. Lord of the Rings has money potential, and they need to do something. But like, we are like not just fans, but everyone who's Lord of the Rings. Like, where does this all fit in? Where does it all come together? At what point do you draw that line and say it's going to be easier if we just start fresh, and not have to linger on everything from the past 30 years? Because I literally, if you go watch The Hobbit versus Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson did both, but like the first ones are so practical, and you can feel the love and the energy, and then The Hobbit's like, we had to crank this out so fast, it's all CG and it doesn't look that good, right? So
yeah, I mean, I can't believe I didn't see it until just now when I'm thinking about it. The closest analog to the Lord of the Rings,
say Star Wars?
like cinematically, it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean, it starts off
yeah.
with the original trilogy, and then you do these Hobbit prequels that everyone pretty much hates, right? And now is the only direction to go is forward, right? The original trilogy, we see our heroes kind of like save the day and save the galaxy / world, and then you kind of just have to reinvent a new threat, right? It didn't work for Star Wars for me overall on average. Well, and then you can easily kind of see like the little side, like Gollum is like basically like an Andor or a Mandalorian, right? We're just like throwing in a little side story.
The difference is Lord of the Rings essentially has for all intents and purposes a story Bible, right? Like even the purveyor of Tolkien's estate, they approve everything that kind of comes out of that, right? So that is a little bit different in Star Wars. Like even the new, we always say there's no direction in Star Wars, and I think Lord of the Rings at least has direction. Like, this is what exists here, but at the same time, at what point do you lose the regular audience and just only cater to the Tolkien fans, right? Because again, you go read a Lord of the Rings book, it's so many names that I can't pronounce in my head, like or different creatures and races and languages. It gets out of control. So I like Lord of the Rings. I think they can do great things with it, but I don't know, after the absolute disaster the Gollum video game was last year, like one of the worst video games known to man.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for a Gollum movie, despite the fact I do love Andy Serkis, and I know he does a great job with that and has a lot of care and passion for the world of Lord of the Rings. Like, he even read the books, like remember he did the book on tape for the books. So I think there is hope here, but boy, when I see Gollum, I kind of just get like uninterested. to put it nicely. So, yeah, but Lord of the Rings, watch it if you want to in theaters later this year. I would love it. I'd probably go back and watch the second one. Is that the good one? The second one? I'm probably going to watch the second one in theaters if I get a chance, but we'll see. Mike, that is the show for today. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for being here. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, buddy?
Oh, they can find my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com and pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to catch up with you. Where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or video game systems of the same name. I am streaming Marvel Rivals as Valdan, VALDAN. I spell it every time because no one ever spells it right. It's fine. But if people know about our show, where they can watch us, like us, see us, I've got 3 live streams going I'm catering to here right now, Mike. Where can they get all these goodies at?
Oh, the best thing to do is just head on over to superheroslate.com. That is our home, independent of any platform that may or may not exist this time next year. So head on over to superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts like our own. We got merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Let us know what you think about the new Superman photo. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I would love to know what the current fan base wish list is. What does the fan base want out of Lord of the Rings? Because I'm not going to do the work and dive into
Aragorn,
to see
what stuff. You know what you're talking about.
And we love our super fans of this show. So if you want to be a super fan of Superhero Slate, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, except for me. I won't be here next week. I'm having a baby shower.
He is. So, but I'll be back next week with a surprise guest who I've not reached out to yet. So we will catch you guys then.
I think it's James Gunn. Bye, everybody.
Bye.